Okay, so first and foremost, I am not commenting this as I am playing. This is coming after I had recorded. I wasn't aware at the time that my mic wasn't working, and I apologize for that. So, a lot of stuff happened. Yeah, here and there, kinda... There are some things in this that validate what I had said last time about who I suspect that Dan's servant is. And you're going to see what it is exactly that validates the statement. So, I hope you all enjoy that. I will be staying with you to commentate on what's going on. Let me just... I lowered the volume for the media source so it would be easier to hear me just in case. And I actually had a little chuckle there because Issei just kinda assumed that it was out of a lustful moment. And that's hilariously in character for the guy, but... this is a first for me. I've never done a voice recording over something that happened prior. It feels very unusual to do a commentary on something that has already taken place. If that makes any sense. Now, Ranni is very interesting because the way she uses the stars is actually based on some form of fortune telling. Way back in like the 1800s, I think it was, somewhere around there, people would actually use astrology to try and predict the future. It was believed if you were born under a certain star, you were born to have this particular type of lifestyle. That's what led into people taking on the constellations to have different meanings, like how Leos are associated with fire and all that. It's very interesting stuff, it honestly is. Now that's a key thing. What she said right there. She had stated that it was a fissure there that caused it. Now, that can be taken to mean many things. That could be why Dan and his servant have such confliction between them. That can be why his actions seem so out of sorts from, you know, their own wishes with each other. I just decide to go and stock up on some remedies here because I realize that with the Fortune's Key I actually get more MP, which gives me more chances to heal Archer in case of an emergency, in case the other shards aren't enough. Yeah, I embarrassingly have a couple input errors here and there because it had been a while since I played, and I got used to how the inputs for Kingdom Hearts worked. Now, after going to encounter Dan and who I believe is Robin Hood, I kinda grind up on EXP for a while. I will be cutting that out because it's nearly an hour long. And I don't think I want you guys to sit there for almost an hour watching me grind out EXP on the same enemies all the time. So I'm going to be cutting that out for you as a matter of courtesy, and also because I frankly don't want you guys to get bored. This is another interesting thing. I like the world building they're doing here. So what she's basically saying is she created a data body through a special contract with the Seraph that allows her to be here. But once the war is over, that body there will go away and she'll be back in her own. Again, it's very interesting. At least to me. And I never knew this girl was in here. All the times I visited, I'd never noticed her, so if one of you do know, please tell me down in the comments if she had always been there or not, because I feel like I missed some pretty key information. Now here I kind of pause, because I'm considering what I want to level up. Do I want to keep pouring more into agility? Do I want defense, magic, etc., etc.? But in the end, I decide to stick with strength, because I notice that its ranking goes up. And as I covered before, that's a very important thing to keep in mind. The more a character's stats are ranked up, the more they get back as they put in points.
ランクが上がったな。マスターとのつながりがより強くなった。この調子で頼む。
So after all that prep, I start heading off towards the arena with the idea to try and test out fortification against Dan and his servant, who I am convinced is Robin Hood. I am absolutely convinced that that is who it is. As I covered before, he has the kind of red-colored hair, he wears the green outfit, and it just seems to fit, especially because of the mention of the yew-bow, which is something Robin Hood was known for. Well, that and, steal from the rich, give to the poor, that kind of thing. But the stealing things from people, and, given that stolen good to somebody else, could be seen as a part of what causes him to have such regret about how he had lived his life. And it's a philosophical thing, don't mind me. Now, I like that line from Archer, because it gives us a little look into his personality as well. Even though he knows that the Seraph can interfere, he's saying, hey, go for him, we can take him out now, and it won't be a problem. Even though that would mean, by doing so, the other masters could take us as even more of a credible threat, rather than instead having the unknown. If I had just gotten lucky against Dan during the elimination battle, if we eliminated him now, when we barely know anything about, barely, according to the others, if we eliminated him now, Archer and, me would be seen as more of a credible threat, because we took somebody out before supposedly knowing everything we have to, or rather, need to. And that might speak to a sort of rash nature behind him. Like, I know who he is. I absolutely do know who this particular Archer is, the one following us. But it's a long, complicated thing. Don't you worry too much about it. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. So I kind of forgot what the attack pattern of the fish bites was, and I'm embarrassed to admit that, because it does get me smacked at some point, if I remember right. I think the last move it has gets me hurt. Yeah, the last move got me hurt, and pretty badly too, because that was a crit. If it hadn't been, the damage wouldn't have been nearly as severe, but that's how things roll sometimes. Now, I'm taking care of these just to kind of shake the rust off, get used to the combat, how it kind of flows, stuff like that. Because like I said, it had been a little while. I had gotten used to Kingdom Hearts. As weird as it might sound, going from a real-time action to a kind of turn-based situation can confuse you just a little. But yeah, I take care of that, no problem. It was all fine. Because it gave me most of the moves this thing was gonna do, and I had started to remember everything. So that was good. That was golden for me. And then I start to remember, about right here as I'm fighting this one, that I discussed with one of the viewers in the comments section that there would be a level I would grind up to before the fight against Dan as Servant on the Elimination Day, Day 7. And I'm not 100% sure at this point, but I looked into it after recording, and I had promised to grind up to around level 18. Which, I'm level 16 after all the EXP grinding. So I think that's the point I'm gonna stop at on day 6, which is the day after this one, If nothing important is going to happen, that's the important detail. if nothing important is going to happen on the 6th. Then, similar to when I went up against, well, that shows how terrible I am. I don't remember the guy's name. Shinji, that was it, Shinji. But when I went to face him, I did one last grinding session, going through the enemies just once. Then I went on to day 7. I'm going to be doing the same here if nothing is going to happen on day 6. But for this moment here, I'm just gonna shut up. I do apologize that at some point during the battle, I accidentally skip some of Green Archer's dialogue, so yeah, sorry. I think it's kind of interesting that Archer, well, you know, the both of them, kind of agree that they are very similar to each other. Now here's where I decide to test out fortification. If it works like I think it should, then using guard to perfectly block an attack command will... There we go, it gave me 1 fortification cast. Now, it was a bit of a gamble on my part to go ahead and try and use the Red Hound without knowing for sure yet, but it paid off. I ended up being able to use it and not waste my MP. So I'm very happy with that. And during the rest of this fight, I'm just kind of trying to get an idea of how Archer attacks. Because I don't know if the game is giving predetermined moves, or if it's adjusting things to how I attack. When I looked into it with Shinji and Ryder after the first week was done, I'd found out that the first 2 fights against them are predetermined. The moves she uses are meant to counter particular ones used, so that battle plays out depending on what you do. but in this one, I'm assuming that all of the tricks you do are not predetermined. Meaning the way Archer moves, well, you know, Green Archer moves, is exactly the way he fights during the elimination. And I'm hoping that's the case because that'll make it easier to know how he attacks when I study this later. And that's another important thing to keep in mind, that Dan will try to buff Archer. Whereas Shinji would try to lower your stats, which isn't all that bad because at that point in the game your stats are already pretty low. Here, Archer's stats are kind of an unknown. We don't know how good his attack power is. So the fact Dan can buff his strength is a concern. He's like an old man yelling as a grandkid or something like that. I don't know. It's just something that popped in my head. Even Archer seems to realize who the green one is. I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out. The fact that it's the Sherwood Forest, the Yubo, stuff like that. So yeah, I am 100% invested in the idea that it is indeed Robin Hood. Now, this is the part where I kind of went to start EXP grinding, so I'm going to be skipping ahead to the end of the day at this point, but I'll say it now. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time. So, until then, later!